Last episode, we built a desert tower inspired by World of Warcraft, and we parked a Zeppelin in front of it. Inside of that Zeppelin, we built a super efficient emerald farm, which takes pillagers spawning from a pillager outpost and sends them into a killing chamber, gathering up emeralds and tons of XP. We also decorated the ground around it to make it a little bit more sandy and deserty. We also got our first chance to use a little bit of the replay mod, which I was super excited for. And this episode, we are going to be using that XP generated from the emerald farm to create our next major build. I also just wanted to start this episode off showing off the new Christmas skin that we have. I know this video is coming out after Christmas, but I hope everybody had a really good Christmas, is enjoying the holidays, and had a great new year. So, happy new year to everybody. I hope this is a fantastic year for the series and for the channel as a whole. I hope you all have a great new year, and I hope you all had a really good Christmas. I've been doing a lot of mainly thinking over the holidays. I didn't want to spend too much time playing Minecraft or coming on the world too much, just because I thought holidays should be spent relaxing, doing something a little bit, less taxing on your brain, and you shouldn't have to think too much. It should just be about spending time with family, having some great Christmas sweets, and just generally enjoying everybody's company, the food, and everything else. So, with that aside, we are now back on the world in between Christmas and New Year. We have our emerald farm over here, the Zeppelin, parked next to the little tower, and we are actually going to be using that this episode to get part of our next major project done. So specifically, we're going to be using the XP. The emeralds are going to be used in the storage facility over there. The XP, however, is going to help us to our next major goal, which, again, a common theme. I'm not actually going to tell you what that goal is, but I'm super excited for it, and I think it's going to be a really fun episode to film, and I can't wait to release that one. It will be next episode that we will be getting to that bit. But this episode, I want to focus on one thing, and that one thing is turning all of this XP into hyper experience. And to get hyper experience, we need to combine glow ink sacs, lapis, and XP all over a superheated blaze burner in a mixer, and that creates liquid hyper experience. And liquid hyper experience has one major use in the create mod, and that is for the create enchantment add-on. That lets you create enchantments that are actually a higher level than the highest possible level available in Minecraft. For example, you're able to get sharpness 6, unbreaking 4, protection 5. You can get anything that is not available in regular Minecraft through hyper XP enchanting using blazes. That is our main goal for this episode, is getting an enchantment industry created so that we can get some really sick, powerful enchantments on all of our gear. Specifically, our sword, our bow, and our armor. And there is a very good reason for why we need those particular things, which we will get onto next episode. So if we head on over to the industrial district and hop into the free cam, we can see that we actually don't have a lot of available space to build this except this sort of central area here. Now, this would be a really good place to build it. I think this might be where we place it. We do want to start getting a little bit more dense in the industrial district. Everything is very spread out and on the edges, and while I do quite like that, it's not fully what I want to do. So we are going to put it here. It is going to overlap the power plant, and it is going to have a really cool look to it, I hope. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to gather up a bunch of stone, get a platform in place, and figure out how big we want to make the building. And there we go. Now that we have the platform set up, we are in a position where we can start planning out the actual building, think of a floor plan, think of where everything is going to go, and think about how we are going to transfer the XP from over in the emerald farm to our XP enchanting industry. So the first thing I want to do is I need to think about a floor plan for this building, think about where I want each part to be, where I want the main enchanting to be, and then where I want the different farms to be, because we need to collect up all the XP, try and farm some lapis. We might need to get an add-on for that, but we definitely need to farm up some lapis, and then we need to take them and combine them into hyper experience. So I think that is going to need the 2 wings on the side, and the enchanting is going to be done in the middle. So that is the overall plan for this build. We just need to come up with a floor plan. Okay, so with a little bit of research and installing one more add-on, which is the Create More Automations add-on, we can actually craft or automate lapis by crushing scoria. We get a 60% chance of lapis, which is just over half, which isn't too bad. It does mean that it's about half as efficient as I'd like it to be, but we do get an automation recipe for lapis, and we can create scoria by blasting or smelting soul sand. And soul sand is easy. We've done that before. We just haunt sand. So this shouldn't be too difficult. We can use maybe this wing over here to create the lapis, and it shouldn't be too big or too difficult to work out. So now that we have that figured out, I think the best thing to do is come up with the floor plan for this building so that we're able to execute everything that we want to inside of it. So after a little bit of thinking, this is what I've come up with. I did initially want the building to be mostly white, but I thought to get it to fit in with the vibe of the rest of the industrial district, this is the sort of shape that I'm gonna go for. So we have a white arch on the front, which is going to be mostly glass, I think, and a little roof. Then we obviously have the red bricks going around the edge, and that is going to take up a majority of the building, a lot like all of our other buildings in the industrial district. So I'm super excited for how this has turned out. I can't wait to actually get building this. The first thing I want to do is get the walls all up and get a general shape for the building. Then we can work on getting a roof, and then once the building is completely done, we will work on getting everything built inside, like all the factories, the lapis farms, and pumping the XP over from the airship. And I think what better way to start out the new year with the first video of 2026 with a second little time lapse, an actual building time lapse this time. A real one and not just a quick little burst of building a platform. So I will see you guys in a couple of minutes, and I hope you enjoy. I'm really upset that you guys are only seeing me put the roof on this building. I had a full time lapse recorded with the replay mod, and unfortunately I decided to AFK the pillager farm overnight, and I forgot to stop the replay recording. So I recorded about 19 hours worth of footage on replay, and it made the file too big to load and manipulate in any kind of fashion. So I've tried everything I could find online, and I just could not get it fixed. So unfortunately you guys are only seeing me add the roof to this building, but I hope you guys are going to like the way that I've built it, the colors I've used, and the shape that I've gone for. I will see you guys when we get back to finishing off the factory. Now that we have everything constructed and we have the empty shell of a building, what I plan to do is get some separating walls put up on these divides here, and then we are going to start filling the side parts. So the first part is going to be over here, which is going to be used for creating our lapis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this divider wall put in, get some lighting in, and put in a ceiling, and then we can start working on actually getting the lapis production started. And now that we have this area all sectioned off, we have a similar opening over on the other side, but we do have the barrier walls in place. I've opted to not put a ceiling in for two reasons. One, because I think it actually looks a little bit better without one. And two, because if I did put one in, it wouldn't line up with the roof very well. So I just decided not to put a ceiling in at all, which I think is going to be fine. I quite like the tall ceiling with all the windows and everything. It looks quite cool. And if I pop some shaders on, it does look really, really cool with the light coming in through the windows as well. So I'm super happy with how everything's turned out. I don't really want to make too many changes. It is a little bit dark in here, but these shaders do make a lot of places just look very dark anyway. So what I want to start working on now is getting our lapis created. So the first thing we need is to create sand. So obviously you've seen me do that before. It's just a cobblestone generator, and then we grind that down from gravel into sand. And it's really, really simple to do. We're going to be using the same design that we've been using this whole time throughout the industrial district, excluding the metal farm, and that is just the really small, really modular cobble farm that we found for our create factory. So the way we're going to put that together is I'm just going to move the vault over by 1. So this is going to come out to about here before it's finished being processed. So actually we could probably bring it out another couple. So if I just add a belt onto here like this, we can see what we are working with. So let's grab some andesite alloy so that we can patch this all up and make sure that it looks good. And we are going to need 2 more shafts along the line. So maybe 1 there and there. Then we can grab our gearboxes and pop them on. So we're going to want a gearbox on each of these, and we can flip them around to face up, and just the same on the other side. That should make sure the crushing wheels are always going in the right direction. So that is our first part of this contraption done. The next part is we are going to have to separate this into a few more lines using some tunnels, and this is going to be haunted into soul sand. So if we just put some belts on these as well, we can make sure that that all links up. And what we can do is we can make sure that that connects in to any one of those, fill in the rest with the andesite alloy, just like that, and then we can pop some tunnels on the top. That is going to separate everything onto these 5 lines like that. So these are going to be haunted. So now that we have soul sand at this point, what we can do is add in some more tunnels and extend these lines out, and then we can just start to cook everything into scoria. So we're going to want 1 more space for the tunnels to sit on, and then possibly 3 more on each to extend it out by 4 to make sure that we have enough time for the scoria to all be processed correctly. Perfect. Now that we have that added in, we have the second set of belts, which is going to smelt our soul sand up into scoria. So now that we have our scoria, we have our 4 lines of scoria here. What we need to do is get them crushed up into lapis. Okay, so I think this is how we are going to move everything across. So I have some ideas for this. I've finished building the cobblestone generator. We have the crushing set up right here. Once it is finished crushing, all of the lapis is going to go up and along these 4 belts here, or the scoria. Once it is come along to the end here, we are going to put our crushing wheels in. So I have 8 crushing wheels here for 4 lines, and we're just going to pop them in here like that and put the rest of the crushing wheels on like this, just there, and we'll have some chutes on top. So if we just grab some chutes here, we can pop them in like that, and this means that everything will fall over into the other side, down into these crushing wheels here, which will crush up the scoria into lapis, and the lapis will land right underneath where the chutes are. So if we send some more chutes at the bottom, we should be able to crush stuff while they're in the chute, or collect the scoria once it has left, and that should at least funnel it onto the 4 belts that will go down here. So these 4 belts are going to be a little bit different. They are just going to be transporting the lapis over to the other side of the factory. So I thought of a really cool way to do that. I don't know if this is going to look as good practically as it did in my head, but basically we need to find the center points of this contraption and send it off in 2 lines. So it's going to be these 2 blocks here. So we want 1 here, 1 here. So actually these do need to be flipped around. So we want 1 there and 1 there, and then we are going to have 1 come out of there and 1 come out of here. So we're going to have 2 lines going over to the other side of the factory, while we have the 4 lines of lapis coming over into these lines here. And that should finish up everything in terms of lapis production. And hopefully, as long as all the belts line up first try, this should actually be enough to get us going. So let's find out. So we have... that's running out, also running out, all running out. This is good. So far, this is looking very good. I am liking that. Okay, so now those belts are all running in the right direction. These belts are running in the right direction. The crushing wheels are working. Perfect. And then we need this power to continue down. But everything on this side looks like it is running properly. So let's get the lava put back in, and then we can have a look properly at whether or not this whole farm works. Perfect. So with 1 gearbox, the fans are all moving in the right direction. So let's go and grab some blue campfires and get everything finished, give it a quick test run, and see if we are ready to transport lapis over to the other side of the factory. Perfect. Now that we have the campfires in place, let's switch on the cobblestone generator and see if it starts working. We do need to add a brass funnel onto it just here. And let's see if this starts working. But we are getting everything sent over, and I forgot to do the filters. Okay, now that we have all of the filters in place to make sure that everything should go only where it's expected, we can pop the shaft back in here, or the gearbox, and we can make sure that everything is going to work how we want it to work. So if we pop this back in, we can give it a watch. So it's going to spit out some cobblestone. That cobblestone will get smelted into sand, or crushed into sand. And we have clay and flint on the wrong lines, and that's because of the fan. Right, okay, so we do need a better way to take care of the clay and the flint. If we pop this back in, we have scoria all going through. That's fine. We have no more cobble, but if we turn our cobblestone generator back on, we have sand coming through. No flint or clay on any of the lines apart from the one that it's meant to be on, which is good. And we can hook this up to there, and that should send everything down here to be crushed into lapis. Oh, that's perfect. So we have a working lapis farm. We just need a way to move the lapis over to where we need it. So this is a perfect contraption we have going on at the moment. We just need to get the lapis from these 4 belts here over to the other side of the factory. And for that, I think we are going to use a very simple technique, which is just to bring out some belts from there and get them hooked up, so that it can all start moving in this direction instead. Then we're going to start from here and just grab a bunch of our andesite casing and start building up. So I've just set up the transport across the top of the factory. I'm just wondering if all of these should now be powered. I think we're just missing... These definitely need to be powered. And then we can power these like that. And then these need to be powered as well. And these bottom ones, I've actually forgotten a lot of these. They need to be powered. These need to be powered. And those need to be powered eventually. But that should be everything now powered. So let's turn the system back on and see if we can get some lapis going all the way to the other side of the factory. So our next port of call is to get all of the experience from our pillager and emerald farm over here into this factory so that we can start combining it with the lapis into liquid hyper experience. But there is one more thing that we need to farm, and that is the glow ink sac, which you can get from deploying glow berries onto a regular ink sac or haunting a regular ink sac. So I think haunting an ink sac is going to be a lot easier because we can already do the haunting process quite simply, and we can get ink sacs by either compacting black dye on and kelp, or we can wash coal. So I think coal is the more renewable option here, just because if we want black dye, we would either have to cart it over from the dye factory, or we would need to have a black dye farm, which involves coal anyway. So I think we should wash coal. It is only a 25% chance, but we're going to set up a little tree farm and farm as much coal as we need. And I think the best way to add a little tree farm is just on a loading bay out the back of the building. So now that we have a little tree farm built up and our platform extended, we also have a portable storage interface connected to some drawers underneath our building. All we need to do is transfer that somewhere for the coal to be processed. And I think a setup just like this should work just fine. So the first thing we need to do from here is we need to get the lava set up, and then once we have the lava done, we can start hooking everything up to some power. Okay, and with a slight redesign, because I realized you cannot wash charcoal into ink sacs, and I forgot that you get charcoal from burning logs. So with a little bit of a redesign, we have come up with this system where the birch logs will come in here and get smelted up into charcoal. The charcoal will then get taken into the middle, where I've yet to add a campfire, but they will be haunted into coal. The coal will be taken out and be washed into ink sacs, and the ink sacs will be launched with weighted ejectors up onto this platform of belts up here, which will go all the way along to the end, and they will just drop down into the next part of the factory, which is all going to take place on this side over here. Now, after moving a couple of things around and adding in this vault at the end here, where all of the glow ink sacks are going to be collected, we've also set up a lapis collection point, which we still need to test. So we do have these threshold switches here, and I think I've set them correctly, where once either lapis or glow ink sacks take up 50% of the vault's total capacity, they will then switch on their respective switches, stopping the production of that particular component until it reaches 25% of the vault's total capacity. So the only real way to test this is really just to test it. And now that we have everything being produced correctly, we can watch the scoria come out of here. Once it is fully haunted into soul sand, we can watch the soul sand collect, and then this will turn into scoria, which should then be sent all the way up, turn into lapis, and head on over to the vault. So they should go down these and over into the vault. Perfect. And then over here we have our charcoal being haunted into coal, our coal being washed into ink sacks, and the ink sacks being sent up onto this rail here, where they are then dropped onto this line over here. We can then start haunting the ink sacks into glow ink sacks, and that gives us all of the production that we need to go forward and mix all of this together to create hyper experience. And how we are going to do that is right in here, we are going to get 4 tanks set up for our hyper experience to be stored. So we're going to start these tanks here, I think, and we're just going to get some 3x3 tanks built up. Nothing too huge, but just big enough that we should be able to store a decent amount. And I think just setting up 4 like this is going to be good enough, just like that. So we can get hyper experience pumped into these 4 tanks just like that, and we will mix everything together in this space here. So what we're going to do is we are going to take these items, our glow ink sacks and our lapis, send them along here, mix them with experience over a superheated blaze burner, and then they are going to deposit their hyper experience into these 4 tanks here, which are just going to be connected with some pipes, so we only need to pump into one of them. I had also noticed at some point while recording this episode today, this episode has been recorded across multiple days, but at some point during specifically today, I've lost my netherite shovel. So I'm stuck with a standard unenchanted diamond shovel at the moment, and I have no idea where my netherite shovel has gone. I don't know where it's disappeared to. Hopefully I can find it soon. If I don't find it, if I haven't put it anywhere and it has despawned, if I dropped it or anything, I'm gonna have to re-enchant my shovel, which is actually perfect because this enchantment industry is going to help us a lot with that. So the first thing we are going to do is get set up to a point where we can start creating our liquid hyper experience. So we are going to make use of a couple of things we haven't used before, like the smart fluid pipes, which is going to be really interesting. So I've bottled up a little bit of hyper enchanting and some regular XP just so we're able to filter everything correctly. And I have some blaze burners already set up. I grabbed a few of those, and I think this is the sort of basic shape that I want everything to take. And I think the best way to do this is just to get it all working, and then we can finally put it into practice. And then we need to free these spaces because we need to connect them to the bottom. This is going to be our blaze cake deployer. So if we grab some fluid pipes, we can run these along the side here, and then we can run them up into the basins like this. Out of this basin, we want a smart fluid pipe coming out, which is going to be filtered to only regular XP. So this just means that we can fill up both basins using a single pipe. Quite easy, not too fiddly, we just need to filter it to regular XP. The next thing we are going to do is take fluid pipes out of both of these, and they are going to be filtered to hyper XP only. So any hyper XP that is inside of these basins will be taken out from that front pipe. Next, we just want to grab some fluid pipes and connect these up, just like that, and then we can go to the middle and connect them down and just send them all the way along into the collection of tanks. So this should be the basic setup that we need to get everything started. We also have our 2 mixers here, which are just going to go on top and on top. Perfect. Then we can grab ourselves some mechanical arms, And we need some copper casing just on top here, and that is going to be where our mechanical arms are going to sit. So what we want to do is we want to take from these depots and deposit into that basin, and we want to do the same over here, from there into that basin, and then we want to take from these basins and deposit into the blaze burners, and that is going to sit just there. So this is how we are going to power everything and how we are going to manage everything. So the first thing we need to do from here is we will need some brass funnels coming out of the vault and onto these depots. Then I just want to flip these around and hopefully get some different things. There we go. So we have glow ink sacks and lapis. Perfect. So if we flip them back around, we can do one lapis and one glow ink sack on each side. One lapis and one glow ink sack. If we then flip these out, we are going to be able to limit these to 16 at a time. And we want to limit these to 16 as well. Perfect. Now that we have that all set up, all we need to do is power these and then run a line of trim up to these blocks and put some draw controller slaves. So the trim is going to connect to this little bit at the bottom here. So I just need to grab some trim and we can just run that along the bottom here, just like that. And what we will need to do is grab one of these just as a filter, and then we just need a few more draw controller slaves to hook this up fully. And then once we have the draw controller slaves on these blocks and we have the filters in place, we can turn this all on, get it all powered, and it will all connect up smoothly. So what I want to do quickly is just power this. So we are going to run the power straight from this block here. There we go. So now that we have everything hooked up correctly, we can see that everything is running the way that it should and everything is going as expected. So if I just grab some andesite casing, we can fill up all the gaps in the floor that we've made, and this gives us a perfect way to track where our XP is going and flowing to and how it's all working. So you can see that we have XP continuously flowing into each basin. And currently we don't have anything flowing out of the basins, but that is just because we haven't started crafting any of the XP yet, which is fine because we can get everything hooked up now. So we need to just get power to these bits here, the mixer and the mechanical arms. And now that we have those set up and we've selected the inputs and outputs for our mechanical arm again, if we just place this down, we should start to see hyper experience being generated and pumped into the tanks. And we should start seeing some nice blue liquid flow out and into the tank. Yes! Oh, there we go. The first little bit of hyper experience that we have generating. And this is just going to run forever. Well, I say forever, until we run out of the resources that we need. But this whole farm collectively should run itself very, very slowly, pretty much forever. We could have a more efficient sugar farm and we could have a more efficient glow squid ink farm, but for what we need, this is pretty perfect. We already have 1,000 millibuckets, which is a full bucket of hyper experience, but this is looking insane. I love the look of the like fluorescent liquids flowing in and out of the pipes. It just, it all looks so cool. I'm really happy with how this is turning out. This is really cool to watch and experience and everything. And we have a pretty, it might be inefficient, but we have a pretty good blaze cake farm as well. Yeah, this whole thing has just gone really well. I'm so happy with how this part of the factory has turned out. So the next thing I want to do is get this middle part of the building or factory decorated to a point where we can start setting up the enchanters. So I think the first thing I want to work on is a bookshelf along this back wall. So I wanted to separate it off into offices, but then I realized that I actually built this factory a little bit different to how I initially intended it, and I've utilized the space a little bit differently to how I intended it. So instead we're gonna go for a bit of a library kind of feel in this front part of the building. So to begin with, I think I want a bit of a bookshelf, maybe just along this back wall here, like this, and we can go across like this as well, and then we're just going to fill the whole middle section in with books, a little something like this, and I think that is going to make a really nice backdrop for what we are aiming for with this factory. So now that we have that all in place, I think the next thing we need to work on is just placing in all of the blazes so that we can start getting the enchanting process done. And I think the best way to start doing that is probably just to start picking places. And I think something along these lines should work just fine. So I aim to have the pipes running underneath each of the blazes, filling them with the hyper experience when they are needed. And I do have some enchanting recipes already cooked up. So we have Respiration 3, that's pretty uncommon, we can give that to you. Sweeping Edge 3, equally uncommon, we can give that to you. Protection 4, that's a pretty common one. Unbreaking 3, Power 5, that's going to be pretty uncommon, so we can put that at the back. And then I think Unbreaking and Protection and everything can go along the front because they are going to be the most important ones. So we can have Protection here, maybe Unbreaking along the end here, and Efficiency 5 we can have here. These are going to be the pickaxe ones, and then we'll end up getting to the armor, and the armor can run along that back, this middle row as well. The back row is going to be for essentially enchants that I might use once, but there is also a chance that I won't use them at all, you know? So let's get this all finished up and maybe a little bit more decorated on the floor, and I will see you guys when that's done. And with a little bit of piping underneath all of the blazes, we can finally get to enchanting. So this little setup that I have here, the Hyper XP refill bar, this is just a simple clutch mechanism to prevent us from overflowing all the blazes, especially the ones with no enchantment, with hyper experience. So I've set up a little clutch mechanism, one for each row. We have the front row, the middle row, and the back row set up. The front row is going to be majority pickaxe enchantments, stuff like efficiency, unbreaking, things like that. Obviously, we do have protection because it's a little bit more common, and I'll probably use it a lot more frequently than any others. We have the middle ones, which are going to be predominantly sword enchantments like Sweeping Edge, Sharpness, stuff like that, looting. And then the back row is going to be miscellaneous and armor enchantments, so things like Respiration, Aqua Affinity, stuff like that. So you can see we have it set up, so front row, middle row, back row, and with the flick of each of these levers, we can start pulling some hyper experience out of our chambers and into our blazes and get things enchanted. So let's start with the front row. If we flick this lever, we should start to see the blazes fill up. Hopefully. Maybe not, but with a couple of very slight adjustments, we should now start to see all of these fill up. Oh, this one on the end doesn't seem to like that. We need another pump, but that's fine. So what is this one? This is unbreaking. That's fine. The one I mainly want is efficiency. This one is going to be unreal. So we have efficiency 4 on our pickaxe now, and if we chuck this onto the blaze, it won't do anything. Why is it not enchanting? Oh, there we go. I think it's enchanting. No? Oh, we need to right click. There we go. Now we're enchanting, and we go from efficiency 4 to efficiency 6. Oh, and we get a couple of achievements. Fantastic. What were they? Oh, amazing. Then the next one I want to do is our chest plate. So I want to go for protection 5. Protection 5. That is unreal. It's so strange seeing these numbers. I mean, it seems like a small thing, but it's very strange seeing these numbers because you just don't really expect them to be possible, you know? Like, it just doesn't, it's so weird. I love it though. This is incredible. Now our axe is efficiency 6 as well. We're gonna have to test these. So I've just popped underneath the industrial district. You can see the hyper experience pumping away there. I've just popped underneath the industrial district to give our pickaxe a quick test. So this is our first time using efficiency 6 on our pickaxe. So previously we weren't quite insta mining stone. Let's see how a whole extra efficiency level adds. Oh, We don't even need a beacon. We can just insta-mine stone. Oh, that's incredible. I wonder, would efficiency 6 and a beacon with haste 2 let us insta-mine deep slate? Because I know insta-mining deep slate isn't strictly possible with anything, but would this setup let us do it? Oh, we're going to have to... But right, before I round off this episode, we're going to jump into a creative world and test. Does efficiency 6 plus a haste 2 beacon let us insta-mine deep slate? Let's go and check it out. Okay, here we are in a creative copy of the world. I have dug down to deep slate level and set up a beacon, and that beacon is set to haste 2. We have an efficiency 6 netherite pickaxe. Can we insta-mine deep slate? No. Okay, that was the most anticlimactic outcome to this test. Is there ever going to be a method where we can insta-mine deep slate? I don't think so. That's really annoying. This is the most powerful pickaxe you can craft in Minecraft. I mean, there might be mod packs where you can get more powerful, but for the mod pack that I'm playing, this is the most powerful pickaxe you can get. Efficiency 6. And then we have a haste 2 beacon, and we still can't insta-mine deep slate. Oh, that's so disappointing. I really thought we had a good chance there. What does it do to tough? Yeah, see, tough. I mean, that is pretty much the same as stone anyway, but I can insta-mine this. Why can't I just insta-mine the stuff around it? Oh, it's so annoying. Anyway, guys, with that very disappointing realization out of the way, and the inside of this factory virtually complete, I think I'm going to call it there for this episode. It's already very, very late, over a week late from when I wanted to get this released, but I'm super excited for the next episode. We are going to be using this enchanter a little bit while I am in between videos, and next video we are going to be doing something super, super exciting. So I hope you guys are prepared. I hope you guys are ready. And I can't wait to show you guys what is going to happen next. And I can't wait to show you guys what we have planned for 2026. 2025 was a weird year for me uploading on YouTube, but I really want to start making it more consistent again. And 2026, I want that to be my year for uploading and for creating content just in general across all the platforms. Speaking of other platforms, if you did want to support me in any other way, I do have a Patreon. The link is down in the description. If it's something that interests you, head on over and check it out. If not, don't feel obliged at all. There is no pressure for anybody to do anything other than just enjoy the videos. If you do enjoy the videos and you do want to support the channel, you can subscribe or like the video. It helps a ton. You can also leave a comment on anything that you want to see me do differently or anything that you would have changed. I know I've still got to texture the outside of the building and make it look nice, but I have a plan for that we are going to do in between episodes. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. I can't believe we still can't insta-mine deep slate with this pickaxe. Efficiency 6.